What is up? What is up? YouTube, how y'all doing? Yeah. I think I'm back, y'all. Yep, the headache is gone. It feels so strange. I had a headache for 2 days, y'all. Roc Nation just got exposed by being like Diddy. Well, we already know that Jaguar Wright was already saying all that, so that ain't new. It's just that it's going to come out more and more. Y'all hit that subscribe button and hit that bell. Let's check this bad boy out, man. Here we go. Next thing you know, your boy gonna be in jail.
All year, we have been hearing new damning stories surface about Roc Nation. In the last few months alone, I covered several industry insiders calling them out. Academics has called them out, Nicki Minaj has called them out, and even the daughter of the CEO of Roc Nation has called them out too. But now it turns out Roc Nation is once again being exposed. And this time is by a personal assistant who was hired by Roc Nation under orders of their artist Lil Uzi Vert. This personal assistant filed a lawsuit against Lil Uzi and Roc Nation, suing Uzi for alleged sexual harassment and suing Roc Nation because when she brought it to their attention, they allegedly ignored it, allowing Uzi's inappropriate behavior to continue unchecked. Now this personal assistant has filed a lawsuit and provided verified text messages between her and Lil Uzi that seems to indicate Uzi might have learned a few things from Diddy. The lawsuit and text exchange reveals just how these celebrities use their money and fame to force those who work for them to compromise themselves for opportunities. Hey guys, I hope all is well. Welcome back to The Truth Is, where I drop new videos exposing the truth weekly. In today's episode, we will be talking about the latest lawsuit filed against Roc Nation and Lil Uzi Vert. Let's get right into it. It seems like the Roc Nation files are never coming to an end. Just a few days back, Roc Nation was exposed again. This time, it was reported that Roc Nation and his artist Lil Uzi Vert were being sued by Uzi's former personal assistant. This former personal assistant, identified only as Jane Doe, filed a lawsuit against Lil Uzi and Roc Nation in October 2025, alleging sexual harassment, wage violations, and a hostile work environment. The plaintiff claims she met the rapper while she was working at a Balenciaga store in Los Angeles in 2022. According to the lawsuit, Uzi was reportedly impressed by her service and offered her a job as a personal assistant. And not long after the problem started, she claimed that during her employment from 2022 to April 2025, she was subjected to sexual harassment, extreme hours without overtime pay, and a hostile work environment, which eventually led to her resignation. According to Jane Doe, she started receiving inappropriate text messages and experiencing other forms of harassment shortly after she began working with Uzi. She claims that this is when Uzi started demanding more than expected from a personal assistant, as he began flirting with her and making unwanted advances. Uzi sent her text messages that she included in the lawsuit. One text message read, "Let me see that booty." Another read, "I'm by myself right now, send me something," essentially asking for intimate photos. In another message, Uzi asked her to come rub him down before she left. But the weirdest message he could have sent to one of his employees was this one, texting his assistant, "You're more than my assistant. You are my B word." She also alleged that Uzi would become verbally abusive and hostile when she rejected these advances, which she claims occurred when the rapper was under the influence of drugs. The worst part of this all is when Jane Doe tried to report it to Roc Nation, who did nothing about it.
Of course they ain't gonna do nothing. That's hip hop and street. But the thing that tripped me out is, my question is, I wonder, did she ever did anything with him, like one time? Or, let him have his way, because, maybe they was, that's the only way she thought she can get out, by letting him go ahead and do his thing. That way I can get away. And maybe I won't get myself in that predicament anymore. I wonder how much she had to adore and how far he had to go before she say, "That's it, I gotta leave this place. I don't care what you people think.
The reason Roc Nation comes into play with all of this is because they represent Lil Uzi. Uzi is signed to Roc Nation's management just like Megan Thee Stallion. Roc Nation was the one who formally hired Jane Doe to be Uzi's personal assistant, offering her a yearly salary of $100,000 for the job. Shortly after they hired her and Uzi started harassing her, she attempted to report it to Roc Nation, specifically bringing it up to Desiree Perez. The lawsuit stated that the management team tolerated the alleged persistent sexual harassment via explicit text and verbal comments. They did nothing to stop the verbal abuse and the drug-fueled outburst by Lil Uzi Vert. So in the lawsuit, she sued the company because she claims they were aware of the alleged misconduct and failed to take action to prevent it or address their complaints, effectively tolerating a hostile work environment. The lawsuit was looking strong as the assistant had text messages and other evidence to prove her claims. But strangely, just days after the lawsuit was filed, it was dropped by the personal assistant. The lawsuit was dropped with prejudice, meaning that she can refile it in the future. But besides this, there is no more information on why she dropped the lawsuit. But in my opinion, it was likely because Lil Uzi and Roc Nation settled the lawsuit before it went to court, which is usually what happens with many of these cases. But if so, this confirms her allegations to be true, as why else would they settle this? Uzi nor Roc Nation ever acknowledged the lawsuit publicly, choosing to ignore it, hoping it wouldn't become a big story. This was another glimpse at the problem with the music industry. These celebrities think that because they're rich and famous, they can have and do whatever they want. They believe that if they hire someone to work for them, that automatically gives them permission to do with them as they please. They use that power to force people to compromise their morals just to stroke their own ego. Uzi allegedly convinced a woman who already had a job to leave her job and work for him. Also, he can try to force her to hook up with him with the power he had over her. When she refused to compromise herself, he allegedly tried to make her feel worthless and dangle her employment opportunity over her head to try to force her to do it, showing her what power he truly has over her. This is what Diddy did to all his victims, using his money, power, and the opportunities that he could provide to force victims to do whatever he asked of them. Freak-offs and assault were the price of Diddy's industry support, likely what many other celebrities are doing to their employees too. These celebrities think they're gods, and this isn't more obvious than what we see in this situation. This is partly because of companies like Roc Nation though. As you can see, Roc Nation chose to allegedly protect Uzi, ignoring this woman's cries for help and allowing this behavior to continue. These companies foster this behavior and enable it. Instead of doing what's right, they protect the music industry instead. To them, it's normal, and they don't see nothing wrong with it, because to them, the average person doesn't matter. Only Roc Nation and its assets. You might have noticed that although this is a massive story about a big artist and the biggest record label in hip-hop, the big media companies didn't really cover it. For some odd reason, the story was largely ignored. Considering we're talking about the view-hungry media that reports on anything and everything, this just doesn't seem to make any sense. Normally, the media wouldn't hesitate to jump on this story, but for some reason, the entire story was ignored. Well, it all makes sense when you realize Roc Nation has a lot of the media in its pockets. The media is afraid to talk negatively about Roc Nation. They are the music industry mafia, and they don't play fair. In fact, Academics called this very thing out recently, claiming that the media were protecting Roc Nation and that's why no big media company would speak on the lawsuit.
Roc Nation has now infiltrated media, and I've always said this, and I want to jump into the first topic too quick. The way how you control the masses, and I've learned this a long time ago, the most important form of power is influence. Why I say that is that if you could influence someone how to think or how to act, it's way more powerful than forcing someone to do anything or any other form of power. So I think influence is the supreme form of power. Situation could happen, and depending on how the media reports it, depending on what information they leave out, they add in, the context or the light that they shape things in, you might see in a very different light. This is why all billionaires, they invest heavily once they get to that point in owning a part of media. I'm drawing these parallel with people who are playing in billion-dollar realm. Jay-Z, Roc Nation. And I know y'all be like, oh my God, here we go. So I was watching over the last couple of days, right? I was watching over the last couple of days how media, and I've always told you this, like media choose to report things very differently. Like I could see TMZ's agenda based on what they report and what they don't report. It was interesting this weekend, or actually in the last 4 or 5 days, there was a huge story that came out. Huge. I mean, huge. It was about Uzi and Roc Nation being sued. Now, I love Uzi, and this is nothing personal towards him. But I only bring this up because I have to kind of use my platform or what's left of it to continue to shine a light onto what everybody else won't shine a light on, right? Former assistant is suing Lil Uzi Vert and Roc Nation for harassment and labor violations. Now, the ironic thing about this is that even on X, and by the way, we're going to try to find this story elsewhere, but even on X, it's like case dismissed after 17 days. Doesn't sound right, but okay. Former personal assistant filed a lawsuit on October 20th in Los Angeles against rapper Uzi, Roc Nation, and Uzi Vert LLC, alleging sexual via explicit messages, verbal advances, unpaid overtime, and excessive work hours up to 39 hours, and unreimbursed expenses over 3 years, leading to her resignation in April 2025. The complaint claimed the companies, that would include Roc Nation, ignored her reports and enabled the misconduct, violating California labor laws. Ironic. On November 6th, they're claiming the plaintiff voluntarily dismissed the case without prejudice, or with prejudice, actually. Barring refiling without court approval, with settlement details sealed. Okay. Now, the first thing when I seen this, I said, wow, this is like a bombshell, allegation. And I'm not here to say any of these things are true, but we all do remember during the time of Diddy getting 5 accusations a day, we saw a myriad of hip hop outlets or outlets that covered hip hop. They would plaster these stories all about. Here it is. The Jane Doe, another one. So I looked at this and I was like, let me see if I can find this shit on other websites, right? Roc Nation, Lil Uzi sued. And really, the outlet I was looking for, and by the way, I just want to also show you here, right? Once you get down here, it says Complex, and there's a bunch of Instagram blogs. Well, Hot New Hip Hop's in there too. A bunch of Instagram blogs. Look, 42 CEO. Facebook. I guess XXL did post it. But you're not going to see major news coverage of this story that I think is super major. How people with power affect things. Right? This would be a huge story if Roc Nation was not connected to it. Again, Rolling Stones, they'll post you for less. Let's see if Rolling Stones post this. Maybe they did. Maybe just not being front paged.
Academics is right. Roc Nation is playing dirty. If an accusation comes out about an artist who is an enemy of Roc, every big media site will run that story. But since Roc Nation was named in the lawsuit, crickets. We have to remember Jay-Z isn't only Roc Nation. He's connected to Live Nation and the NFL. Live Nation runs the music industry, and the NFL, well, the NFL is a superpower. They're going to protect Jay-Z and Roc Nation no matter what. But even though Roc Nation is protected, I don't think they can stop what's already in motion. The downfall of Roc Nation has already commenced, and they know it. And it all started with the Jane Doe at the end of last year. She sued Jay-Z for allegedly R-wording her alongside Diddy at an industry party. This story was massive once it first came out, but as quickly as it came, it went, especially after the media made it their mission to disprove the Jane Doe story. Eventually, Jane Doe's lawsuit was thrown out after she allegedly confessed to making the entire story up. The media made sure to blast this everywhere in hopes of clearing Jay's good name. But the only problem was, the reason Jane Doe dropped the case was due to Jay-Z hiring a private investigator to follow her around and harass her. In fact, the testimony the court used to throw away the case came from a recorded statement the private investigator got from Jane Doe. A statement they got from her at her very house, where they showed up and pressed her, essentially forcing her to say Jay-Z wasn't involved. But since the biggest media companies only ran the story about Jay being innocent, the rest of the story didn't matter. While Jay-Z and Roc Nation likely saw this as a massive victory, little did they know what door this lawsuit just opened. Just like we saw with Diddy after these accusations were made, accusations just started piling up. A few months after this lawsuit, Roc Nation would again be exposed. This time it was by Tory Lanez. He made an entire album accusing Roc Nation of allegedly being the puppet masters behind his arrest. In the album, he revealed the connection between his former lawyer and Roc Nation, showing that after his lawyer dropped him as a client, she actually went on to collaborate on a TV show with Roc Nation. Tory called out Jay-Z and Roc Nation by name in his album and didn't hold back at all. Sadly, we all saw how that ended for him. Just months after this album, he was randomly brutally attacked in prison, barely surviving the attack, leaving many wondering if this attack could have been orchestrated by those he was exposing. Then, after Tory exposed Jay-Z, not long after that, it was the CEO of Roc Nation getting exposed. Desiree Perez was exposed by her own daughter earlier this year. Her daughter accused Desiree Perez of trying to falsely institutionalize her and have her husband arrested because she simply didn't like him. Her daughter sued her, accusing her of paying off judges, police officers, and doctors to help with her plans of illegally institutionalizing her. Many compared the situation to what Roc Nation did to Tory, manipulating the system to have an innocent man arrested. The Roc Nation files didn't end here though. A few months back, it was academics exposing them. As he claims, they were trying to intimidate him and force him to give up information they could use against the blogger they were suing. Academics showed how Roc Nation used the justice system to force him to attend a deposition they try to use to intimidate him and force him under their control. But it didn't work out for them, as academics instead publicly embarrassed them by recording the deposition and posting it online, showing what Roc Nation's intentions really were. It didn't end here though either, as last month it was Nicki Minaj calling them out for trying to intimidate her and other artists. She even seemed to blame Roc Nation for the death of artist D'Angelo. It seems that the music industry is turning on Roc Nation and Jay-Z. Just like we saw with Diddy, the house of cards are coming crashing down. At the end of it all, Jay-Z and Desiree Perez will be standing in the rubble, and they will get exactly what is coming for them. Well, I'm gonna end this one here. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
What he say? Right here. Shout out to Act for this one right here.
Showed how Roc Nation used the justice system to force him to attend a deposition
Shout out to him,
they
man.
try to use to intimidate him and force him under their control. But it didn't work out for them, as academics instead publicly embarrassed them by recording the deposition and posting it online, showing what Roc Nation's intentions really were. It didn't end here though either, as last month.
Yeah, shout out to him on that one, because I saw the little episode of him actually talking more about what they was asking him and how he responded. Like he didn't give a hoot. I'm gonna tell you my honest opinion, and I'm gonna give it to you whether you like it or not. And that's what he did. Yeah, so shout out to him for that one, man. I still don't like what you did to that little 15-year-old boy, but that's water under the bridge. You know, we all make mistakes. At least you finally owned up to it. Look here, I'm gonna get on up out of here. Y'all take it light, take it slow. Tell him Uncle Mike told you so. Peace out.